She told me I was paranoid, said I was overanalyzing, that I was suffocating her with suspicion, that my questions were a symptom of some personal insecurity I needed to work through. So I did. I worked through every file, every timestamp, every lie. It started quiet, subtle. A pause in her voice when she said she was working late. A slightly different tone in her "I love you." The unspoken weight behind "you're imagining things." Kelsey was good at this. Polished, practiced. She didn't raise her voice. She lowered it, made every deflection sound like concern. "You always assume the worst," she told me once while buttoning her coat. "You don't trust me anymore." She was right. I didn't. But I did trust patterns. And that's where she slipped. Kelsey sent voice notes instead of texts. She liked the intimacy of it. Said it was more real, that it kept us connected. But she forgot something crucial. I'm a video editor. I work in timelines, audio filters, clip overlays, and hard evidence. So I started recording. Quietly, kept backups. Her voice notes, every single one. I'd never cheat. You're all I need. There's no one else. Then I started stitching. One window showed her voice, sweet and reassuring. The other, screenshots of hotel bookings, location pings, a stray hand in a car selfie that wasn't mine. Each line she spoke paired with the proof she never thought I'd find. 3 minutes. Clean transitions. Cold truth. When I was done, I uploaded it privately. Just a YouTube link, no title, no comments. Then I dropped it in the one place where her stories always found sympathy. The Lawson family group chat, her parents, her 2 sisters, her aunt from Connecticut. The chat where I was always the odd man out, the outsider. I didn't write a message. I just sent the link and closed my phone. 30 minutes later, I checked. 43 views. No reply from Kelsey. But her mother had written, "Call me, now." That's when I knew the edit had landed. The woman who told me I was paranoid now had to explain herself. To everyone. Long before I hit upload, long before the first frame of that video ever existed, there were warnings. Not big ones. Just glitches in the story she told. I remember the first time it truly stung. I had asked her about a contact saved under just an emoji, nothing obvious, just a car icon. "It's for my rideshare guy," she laughed, brushing my concern aside with a kiss on the cheek. "You're being weird." I wanted to believe her. So I did. Then. But weird became her favorite word for me. She started throwing it around like seasoning. Every time I questioned something, a late meeting, a vague calendar entry, an unanswered call, she'd tilt her head, give me that same patient smile, and say something like, "You're spiraling again, Derek. You really need to let this go." Let it go. As if I was holding on to ghosts. As if the evidence wasn't starting to pile up in places she couldn't see. Kelsey got smarter, or so she thought. Her lies became airier, floatier, as if made of nothing. But lies always leave a residue, and I'd learned how to trace it. She changed her perfume suddenly, saying it made her feel more grown. She started sleeping with her phone under her pillow. Claimed it was to help her fall asleep with ambient sound, though she never once played any. I tested that excuse. Asked her to play the ambient track for me sometime. She waved me off. I didn't fight. I just started watching more closely. There's something that happens when you know the truth but haven't said it out loud. A kind of emotional limbo. You stop reacting. You become observant. And then, you become patient. Kelsey didn't realize she was teaching me how to catch her. Every deflection trained me in the art of her deceit. Every denial gave me a new place to dig. "I don't like how you're acting lately," she said once, tossing her coat on the back of a chair. "You're always quiet now. Like you're waiting for something." She was right, though she didn't know how right. I was waiting. For the last piece. For the puzzle to click. The irony is that for someone who accused me of being paranoid, Kelsey was unusually confident that I'd never check her cloud backups. She had her phone set to automatically sync audio files to a shared drive. Probably never even thought I'd look, but I did. And what I found was more than just her voice saying, "I love you." It was laughter. Low, intimate laughter. the kind that doesn't belong to a married woman. That's when I started organizing. I laid it all out on a dual monitor setup in my editing room. On one screen, her voice notes, perfectly trimmed. On the other, the receipts, the screenshots, the geotags. Her voice saying, "You're everything I ever wanted," followed immediately by her standing outside a hotel, wrapped around someone else. In those quiet evenings when she thought I was just unwinding in the other room, I was surgically documenting her betrayal. She thought I was checking email. I was checking her out of my life. Even then, I hadn't planned the group chat drop. That came later. But during that stretch of time, when her dismissals were sharpest, when she made me question my own sense of reality, when she told me I was hurting the relationship with my attitude, that's when I knew the only way forward was through documentation. Not confrontation. Not shouting matches. No screaming at midnight or checking her phone in the bathroom. Just patience. She called me paranoid. I decided I would make paranoia look a lot like precision. Editing was my profession. But this wasn't just another project. This was the first cut that bled. There's something ruthless about working with truth. It doesn't need a script. It doesn't care about pacing or sympathy. All I had to do was arrange her words next to the evidence, and the story unfolded itself. I didn't dive into it all at once. I started slowly, like I was peeling back layers of a memory I didn't want to look at too long. Her voice notes came first. They were already in my cloud, archived from old message threads. I didn't need to fake anything. These were her real words, captured with her usual warmth, her soft cadence. She sounded loving, believable, devoted. "I'd never cheat," she said in one note, her voice dipping in that familiar hush she used when she wanted me to feel safe. "You're all I need." Another message said, "You're the only man I'll ever love like this." I placed those voice clips onto my editing timeline like confessionals. I adjusted the levels, added light reverb so her voice would be crisp but not cold. Then I began stitching in what she never expected me to find. The receipts came next. A bill from a boutique hotel across town, dated the same day she claimed to be in an all-day client workshop. Then came the Uber logs, the restaurant reservations under his name, even a flower delivery receipt billed to her personal card, sent to an unfamiliar apartment with a message that read, "Still thinking about last night." I didn't stop there. I created a split-screen effect. On one side, her voice, confident, warm, unwavering. On the other, the visual contrast, time-stamped evidence, photos, text threads from a synced device. I discreetly backed up the moment I saw her unlock it, one lazy Sunday morning, not realizing I'd memorized her passcode. Her voice saying, "I'd never lie to you," overlaid against a message to him. "He suspects something, but don't worry, he always backs down." It wasn't just about catching her. It was about arranging the truth in such a way that it couldn't be explained away. No wiggle room. No, it's not what it looks like. This wasn't a confrontation. It was a broadcast, and because I knew her so well, because I'd watched her manipulate not just me, but her friends, her coworkers, even her family, I knew exactly how to time the clips for maximum impact. I didn't use dramatic music. No need. I wanted silence between segments, the kind that leaves room for the viewer to think, to absorb, to feel the sting. 3 minutes and 17 seconds. That's how long the final video ran. Short enough to keep attention. Long enough to ruin a lie forever. I uploaded it to an unlisted YouTube link. I watched the progress bar fill. As soon as it hit 100%, I copied the link. I didn't hesitate. The family chat was next, and I was just getting started. There's a certain calm that settles over you right before you light a match. Not rage, not triumph, just silence. That's what I felt as I stared at the group chat, Lawson family updates, sitting open on my phone. This was the same chat where Kelsey posted birthday collages and dinner selfies, where she shared filtered photos of our anniversary brunches like they were proof of a perfect life. Her parents always responded with hearts. Her sister loved to comment, "couple goals." I'd scrolled past so many of those replies over the years, wondering if I'd ever be able to say what I was really thinking. Now, I wouldn't have to say a word. The link sat on my clipboard. A short, simple YouTube URL. No description, no title. Just a key to a room full of secrets. I pasted it into the chat. There was no caption. I didn't add a single emoji, didn't say watch this or look closely. I wanted it to hit like a splash of cold water, sharp and sudden. No build-up, just impact. The moment I hit send, my thumb hovered, waiting. I locked my phone and placed it face down on the counter. I didn't want to obsess over who saw it first, who gasped, who stayed quiet. But I already knew I would look anyway. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. When I finally checked again, the view counter had climbed to 11. Then 27. By the time it hit 43, I saw something else. Kelsey was still silent. But her mother had responded. Call me, now. Just those 3 words. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. The silence from Kelsey said more than any argument ever could. She hadn't even tried. To twist the story, hadn't sent a single line of defense. No crying emojis. No frantic, he's twisting it. She knew. She knew there was nothing she could say that would make those 3 minutes disappear. I imagined the moment she realized which voice notes I had used. The ones she thought were intimate, loving. I imagined her listening to herself say, "You're all I need," while watching a hotel receipt roll up next to a GPS tag from a place I wasn't. Maybe she was hoping I'd confront her in private, give her space to spin a story, cry, explain, deflect. She had no idea I'd take it straight to the one room where she'd never risked being honest, her family's. I turned off read receipts. Not just for her, for everyone. I didn't need a play-by-play. I'd made my move. The game was over. Then I packed my bags, not in a frenzy, methodically, one drawer at a time. On the kitchen table, I left a note in the same calm tone she once used to dismiss my concerns. You said I was paranoid. Now No, I wasn't. I didn't wait for her to come home. By the time she walked through the front door, if she even did, I was gone. My clothes, my laptop, my hard drives, my toothbrush. Everything that mattered had been packed and taken. I left the bed neatly made, the closet half empty. I even closed the kitchen cabinets, as if I'd never existed in that space at all. There was no confrontation, no final scream or thrown glass. I knew Kelsey well enough to predict the next phase. She'd try to shift the narrative again. Not immediately, not to me, but to the people who mattered. She'd need to rebuild control, to repair the version of herself they'd believed in for years. But this time, she didn't have the script. I had taken that from her. The video was unlisted, but I knew it wouldn't stay confined to that link. Someone in her family would download it. Maybe out of curiosity. Maybe out of self-preservation. No one wants to be the last one to know, especially not in that family. Once it existed outside of my hands, it couldn't be undone. That was the point. What I didn't expect was how quiet it all felt. There were no more buzzing notifications. No frantic calls. Kelsey didn't reply, didn't block me, didn't attempt to rage or weep or beg. She simply disappeared from my feed. I checked once, just once, days later. Her profile still showed a smile, still showed our wedding photos. But all comments had stopped. The likes had dwindled. It was as if digital gravity had finally pulled her world into a crater she couldn't talk her way out of. What stung, oddly, was how little I felt when I saw that. No satisfaction. No glee, just relief. It's strange how grief doesn't always come in tears. Sometimes it comes in the quiet certainty that you won't look back. I found a short-term rental near the coast. Small place, clean, no shared memories tucked into furniture, no lingering perfume in the sheets. Just peace. For the first time in years, I didn't check someone else's calendar before making plans. I didn't wait for permission to feel suspicious or sane. I changed all my passwords, closed joint accounts, transferred my data to fresh drives. When I opened my editing software again, it wasn't for evidence. It was for work. For something that didn't carry the weight of betrayal. I still have the video. Not because I plan to send it again, but because it's proof that I wasn't crazy. That I didn't imagine the cracks. That trusting your instincts isn't paranoia when the truth is that sharp. As for Kelsey, I don't know what explanation she gave to her family. I don't care. Maybe she said it was complicated. Maybe she claimed I manipulated the clips. Doesn't matter. What matters is every single person who watched that video saw the same thing I did. The space between her words and the truth. And now it can never be unseen.